Hi, my name is Mike Swinger. I'm a teacher and tutor in math. I've been teaching for the past 15 years in private and public schools. I've done thousands of hours of tutoring after school, all kind of stuff. I have a real passion for helping students to succeed and really build up their confidence, which um, translates actually to all areas of their life. So I've done this for a while and I love working with students. So just want to give you guys a short demo session today and see if you like it. All right, here we go. All right, so what we're going to do today real quick is adding and subtracting fractions with like, unlike denominators, and throw a little bit of algebra in there right after that. So to add and subtract fractions, we need a common denominator, which you see up here in question number 1. We have a common denominator, right? 4. So if we have 3/4 of a pizza minus 1/4 of a pizza, we have 3 minus 1 gives us our 2/4 of a pizza, 2 out of 4. But really, no, 2/4 is the same as 1/2. So we have half our pizza left over, right? If you do some simplifying here. Right, divide by 2 on the top, divide by 2 on the bottom, you got your 1/2. Okay, so you need like denominators to add or subtract. Okay, fractions. Now that's why number 2 I put 1/3 plus 1/2. So they're not like denominators, right? They're like numerators, but that doesn't matter. But we have to get the denominators to be the same. So we have to figure out what we call a least common denominator. A number that both of those numbers go into, right? A number that's divisible by 3 and is divisible by 2. So if you can think of a number divisible by 3 and divisible by 2, we want the least. So 12 is divisible by 3 and 12 is divisible by 2. We could use 12, but it's not the least common denominator. So the least one would be 6, and we get that by multiplying 3 times 2, which doesn't always work out to be the least, but you could use it to do this. So we want both denominators to be sixth. Okay, we'll bring the plus down the middle. Now, 1/3 of a pizza is the same as how many sixths of a pizza. So to do that, you just got to think 3 times something gives me 6. Well, 3 times 2 gives me 6. Well, if I multiply the bottom, the denominator, by 2, I got to multiply the top by 2, because really I'm multiplying this whole fraction 1/3 by 2 over 2, which is really 1. You're multiplying a fraction by 1, which doesn't change the value of the fraction. That's why we do this. It doesn't change the value of it. Changes the look of it. 2 times 1 up top is 2. So what we're saying is 1/3 is the same as 2 out of 6, right? If you think of shooting a basketball, 1 out of 3 is the same as shooting 2 out of 6, okay? All right, so that's the process. So we want 1/2 to become 6. So we got to think, well, 2 times something gives me 6. Well, 2 times 3 gives me 6. Well, if I multiply the bottom by 3, got to multiply the top by 3. And now look what I'm multiplying by. I'm multiplying by 3/3, which is 1. So multiply the top by 3. 1 times 3 gives you your 3/6. And 1/2 is the same as 3/6. Or 1 out of 2 is the same as 3 out of 6. Now that I have both denominators to be 6, well, 2 6 plus 3 more 6 gives me, excuse me, 5 6. Okay? Makes sense. Now, this one down here, 8/10 minus 2/4. What you got to do, you got to think of a denominator that is divisible by 10 and divisible by 4 at the same time. All right? So you could multiply them together. You could. All right? And that's 40. And that is a common denominator. All right? But it's not the least common denominator. Okay, so think of a number that is divisible by 10, divisible by 4, and that number would be 20. Now there is a process of doing that, but I'm giving a quick demo instead of the really detailed demo. Okay, so the common denominator is 20. So multiply 10 times 2, that gives me my 20. So multiply the top by 2, 8 times 2 gives me 16. And then 4, 20, so I want 4 to be 20. So multiply the bottom by 5, that gives me 20. Multiply the top by 5, so 2 times 5. There's your 10. So what we have now is equivalent fractions. 8/10 is the same as 16/20. 2/4 is the same as 10/20. Now we can subtract. 16/20 minus 10/20. All you do is subtract the numerators, and it becomes 6 out of 20. But that's not the best answer. The best answer you would want to simplify. So how to simplify is you figure out a common factor that the numerator and denominator have in common, right? 6 has 2 in common. They both have a factor of 2 in common. So you would divide the top by 2 and divide the bottom by 2. Do the same thing. Okay, 6 divided by 2, there's your 3. 20 divided by 2, there's your 10. So 6 out of 20 is the same as 3/10. Okay, so that's a quick lesson on basic adding and subtracting with like or unlike denominators. And I put up one more question here, an algebraic one. So for those of you in algebra, you could figure out 3 divided by 2x plus 5 over 6y. So you got to figure out a common denominator between 2x and 6y. Well, if you figure out a common denominator between 2 and 6, that's a good start. Common denominator 2 and 6, a number that both those go into, or a number that is divisible by 2 and is divisible by 6, is 6, right? So you definitely want a 6 down here. Okay? Then you look at the variables. This one has x, this one has a y. So there's nothing in common, right? So what you do is, when you don't have anything in common, those factors that don't have anything in common, you multiply those together and it becomes 6xy. Now 6xy is divisible by 2x. If you divided that by 2x, I'm just going to put it here. 6xy divided by 2x. It is divisible because 6 divided by 2 cancels out, that's 3. X divided by x cancels out, that's just 1. And then y is still here, so that's 3y. Okay? And then we have 6xy is also divisible by our other one, 6y. 6 divided by 6, that's 1. Y divided by y, that's 1. So you're left with just x. Okay? Now, that plays into what we got. Well, we both want them to be 6xy. That's the LCD. LCD, least common denominator, equals 6xy. Okay? First thing you have to do, find the least common denominator. Second thing you have to do is figure out 2x times something gives me 6xy. Well, the way to do that is to do what I just did. You take 6xy and you divide it by 2x, and that's what you have to multiply by to get 6xy. So 6xy divided by 2x, we just did it, 3y. So if I multiply 2 times 3, all right, I'm going to put this in another color here. Multiply 2 times 3, let me get that one. All right, so 3 times 2x gives me 6x, but 3y times 2x gives me 6, and then xy. So multiply 3y on the bottom, and I get my common denominator, and multiply 3y on top. 3y times 3 gives me my 9y. All right, look at the other one. 6y times something gives me 6xy. Well, this one isn't bad. 6y times x gives me 6xy. But multiply the bottom by x, multiply the top by x, and you get 5x. 5 times x, which is just 5x. Now, since they have the same denominator, you can just put it over one big fraction, 6xy. All right? And so what we have up here is we would just add the numerators up, 9y plus 5x. And if they could simplify, you would, but since you can't simplify 9y plus 5x, you just leave it the way it is. And so this is adding some algebraic denominators together. Okay? If you guys like what you see, let somebody know. All right? So thanks for watching.